Hello everyone. Recently I shared my favorite comfort movies, and today I wanted to share my favorite comfort shows because let's face it, with all the turbulence in the world, both domestic and internationally, sometimes life can be hard, sometimes things can feel stressful, and no matter what time we're going through, films and television allow for escapism. Art allows for escapism. Literature, comic books, video games, whatever it may be, it offers escape. And today, I just wanted to briefly go over my comfort shows. Before I continue, let me know down in the comments below, when you feel down, what are some of your comfort shows that you watch to feel better? Starting off would be Stranger Things. I love this show. As a fan of 80s and 90s cinema, this is quite something. It feels like, what if a Stephen King story was adapted by Steven Spielberg and made into like an 8-hour film? That's what Stranger Things feels like, and I love all the seasons. I can't wait to see how it concludes. The truth is out there with The X-Files. The X-Files is a show that I totally dug as a 90s kid watching. I didn't quite get to see it because it always aired late, but I later revisited it on DVD with the complete series and watched the movies and the event series, read the comics. I love Mulder and Scully. The Monster of the Week episodes were kind of better than the mythology episodes in the long run, but I love the alien mythology, the different government conspiracy theories, and the monsters and cases they would have to go and solve. After that would be Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is what got me into Star Trek. I love all of Trek, but The Next Generation holds a special place in my heart. This is a show I grew up with. I also like Picard. Seasons 1 and 3 more specifically. 2 started out great, but somewhere along the line they spent too much time in present-day LA and it just got ridiculous. But Season 1 was a nice dark take on Jean-Luc Picard and different characters introduced with the Federation and Data's daughter, and then ultimately 3 was like the last Next Generation film we never got to see. Going with Star Wars would be The Mandalorian. Seasons 1 and 2. Not counting 3, but I love the first 2. It's the closest we got to the feeling of the original Star Wars trilogy. Next up, Cobra Kai Never Dies. Cobra Kai sounded stupid on paper, but it ended up being the best thing since sliced bread. This, Creed, and Top Gun Maverick is how you do a legacy sequel / reboot. Seriously, this is just made with a labor of love. Next up is Miami Vice. This is a show I got into in high school when the film was coming out, and the film has nothing on the 80s TV show. Don Johnson, Philip Michael Thomas, the music, the style, everything about this is just the epitome of cool. Somebody saved me with Smallville. Smallville is an awesome 10-season show about the origin of Superman. Started out as a family show, kind of high school show, and then became kind of like a soap opera for a little bit before becoming a full-blown comic book show in the later years. I love this. I always hold on to Smallville. And of course, Smallville opened the door for Arrow. Now, the later seasons like 6, 7, and 8, I'm not quite fond of, but I have to say, watching the early seasons of Arrow brought so much comfort to me during dark times. Going with Marvel would be Netflix's Daredevil, now on Disney+. I love Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Season 1 is awesome. Season 2 is good, but 3 is where it really takes off with Bullseye. I love that season. All 3 of those seasons are just Marvel at its finest. Next up is a show that is literally a comfort show for me. It's a very polarizing show, but I love Titans. My mother got me the Blu-rays when I didn't know it was going to be on HBO Max. It was a DC Universe show, so she got me the Blu-rays during COVID. They were cheap. And during the pandemic, I saw seasons 1 and 2, and I immediately fell in love with it. It was very different. I heard it wasn't like the cartoon and stuff. No, it's like a grittier, more grounded version of the 80s comics. And while the writing, I think, fells the cast, it's a wonderful cast, it still had its moments. I don't think it quite lived up to its full potential, but I love this show. And yeah, Connor Leslie is my favorite as Donna Troy. I mean, when she was introduced in episode 8, I was like Tom Cruise. That smile's gonna be the end of me. Going with DC Universe shows, I love Doom Patrol. That is another show that hooked me on the pilot. It's emotional, it's dramatic, but it's like wacky, zany, and out there where you can't believe it's on TV. So it's like a plateau of emotions. And no matter what mood I'm in, down or happy, it's just a show that I can just relate to at any mood, at any time. Next up after that is Swamp Thing on DC Universe. I love this short-lived show starring Crystal Reed. Oh man, I really wish I got a season 2, but this is a perfect dark gothic horror, and what can I say? I love my gothic horror stuff. Next up would be a guilty pleasure, but I really enjoyed the early seasons of Riverdale. There's something about it where I'm like, that's not my mom and dad's or Archie comics, so to speak. Then going more serious would be Boardwalk Empire. Yes, I love this show. Season 2 onward is where it really starts getting going. Season 1 setup, and then 2 a Jimmy's finale, and then 3. I love it. Richard Harris, probably my favorite character. Perfect, short-lived show. Next up on HBO would be The Sopranos. While I'm not a fan of the very last scene of the series, I have to say everything up to that is just television at its finest. It forever changed television. Going with OG HBO would be Tales from the Crypt, the perfect horror anthology show, in the vein of Twilight Zone if it could get away with being R-rated. Going with horror anthology, I would also add American Horror Story. Now, this is primarily Murder House all the way to 1984, except Roanoke. We're not counting Roanoke. But everything else, and if I'm in the mood to watch something like messed up, that's a show. And then 84 is just a feel-good, funny kind of throwback to 80s slashers I just absolutely enjoy. And then I guess going with Emma Roberts, it's more comedic. Scream Queens. Yeah, the first season of Scream Queens is so hilarious. Like, anytime I need to have a pick-me-up, I watch that, especially around Halloween. After that would be a short-lived vampire romance show called Moonlight, kind of in the vein similar to Forever at Night, starring Alex O'Loughlin and Sophia Myles. I love this, you know. It's my Beth. That show, you need to see it for the chemistry. Going with vampires would be From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. I absolutely lived and breathed this show for a number of years. I entered a fan art contest and I have a poster. I love this show. This is one of the few shows like MASH where I actually think it's superior to the film. And that's going to make a lot of people mad because the films are great, but like the show just took it to another level. And it also introduced us to Eiza Gonzalez, so what can I say? Next up, with kind of more family horror, I love Wednesday starring Jenna Ortega. I wasn't sure what to think of it with the casting with Gomez and Morticia, but Jenna, she made this show and I can't wait to see what season 2 does. Going more classic TV, you can always never go wrong with Columbo with Peter Falk. Just one more thing. Classic whodunit. Who could forget the Rockford Files of James Gardner? Another great detective show. And then kind of going with that, more modern, would be Burn Notice. I always loved watching Burn Notice on USA. Going with my childhood, Batman the Animated Series is the quintessential Batman show. It is like the definitive Batman. I can watch that. I can watch Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited. And then last but not least, my new comfort show is X-Men 97. Magneto was right. I love this. To me, this is my X-Men. Anyway, that does it for my comfort shows. Feel free to let me know your comfort shows. Whenever you feel down in life, let me know what shows pick you up and make you feel better. In the meantime, you can check out my comfort movies and other content on the channel. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Till next time.